your attention, please? The podcast is about to begin. Please silence your notifications, close other applications, and direct your full attention to the stage. Presenting Productman.
Hi, I'm Yunus. Welcome to episode 11 of the Productman podcast. I know we took a 1-week break. We recharged our batteries, celebrated the new year. I hope your year started wonderfully too. Now the holiday is over, we put on our armor, we are returning to the field. Today we will talk about a topic that is a nightmare for every PM who is at the beginning of their career or who comes from a non-technical background. You are in a meeting. Developers are talking. If we don't switch to microservices, latency will increase. This API cannot handle this load, we need a refactor. The JSON. Format doesn't fit. You are sitting there, nodding your head. But inside you say, I don't understand anything. Did I choose the wrong profession? Today, I will confess to you the days at the beginning of my career when I didn't even know the difference between backend and frontend. How I dealt with that black box when developers said this job takes 3 weeks, and how I mediated between the pressure of let's launch fast and the fight for let's clean the code, technical debt. The question is, do you need to be an engine mechanic to be a Formula One pilot? No, but you have to know how the car handles. If you are ready, we are opening the hood. Let's start. Let's start with that big confession. I am not a computer engineer. And at the beginning of my career, when I entered a software company, I was like a fish out of water. I am not exaggerating, friends. What is backend? What is frontend? What is the exact difference? I didn't even know that. I was entering meetings, terms were flying in the air. I was just in listening mode, taking notes. What does API mean? What does server mean? Then I would hide under my desk and research these on my phone. I felt very inadequate at that time. But then I realized this. My job is not writing code. My job is translating. Business speaks Chinese. Revenue, customer, campaign. Tech speaks Russian. Database, API, bug. The PM is the person who translates these two languages to each other. Do you know how I closed that gap? I went to the developers and asked honestly, can you explain this to me like I'm a child? Don't be afraid. Developers love PMS who are curious about their work. Thanks to that curiosity, even though I couldn't write code, I learned the architecture of the system, the data flow. And this is a much more indispensable skill for a PM than writing code. Let's come to the second crisis, estimation. For something you think in your head is, hey, it's just changing the color of a button, a half-day job. The developer says, we need to change the infrastructure for this, it will take 3 weeks. There is a huge power asymmetry here. Because they have the technical knowledge. They know what is under the hood of the car, you don't. For most of my career, I had to accept what the developers said on this matter because you have to trust. But I established the balance here with the architect and civil engineer analogy. You are the architect. You decide what the building will look like and how people will live in it. The developer is the civil engineer. He knows whether that column will carry that load. And if the civil engineer says this column won't carry this balcony, it will collapse, you cannot be stubborn with him. But you can ask, okay, if we make the balcony smaller, will it carry it? Or if we use another material? So don't tell them how to do it, but ask for alternatives. As your technical knowledge increases over time, you start to understand that sometimes that 3 weeks is really 3 weeks, and sometimes the developer inflates the time just to be safe, the buffer. But until you build that trust, it is best to respect the expert. And of course, that eternal war, new feature versus technical debt, refactoring. Management and customers always want new features. Add that too, release this too. Developers rebel. The code is trash. It turned into spaghetti code. We need to clean it or the system will explode. There was a period where I experienced this very clearly. There is incredible pressure from upper management. We absolutely have to release a feature in that sprint. But the lead developer stood in front of me. Yunus, this infrastructure won't handle this. We need to refactor first, otherwise everywhere will be full of bugs. Both sides are right, and I am the person in the middle. Here I use the kitchen analogy. Imagine you are in a very busy restaurant. You are constantly putting out food, features, but no one is washing the dishes, technical debt. What happens after a while? There are no clean plates left and the kitchen stops. That day I made a bargain with the team. Friends, due to management pressure, we have to put out food without washing dishes this sprint. I know it's risky, but I promise, after this feature is released, we will dedicate 20% or all of the next sprint just to cleaning. This is the quid pro quo approach. Win-win. I showed that I understood their concerns and I created time for them. And they solved my business problem. If I had just said, I don't care, do it, they would have written that code, but that kitchen would have burned down in the end. Let's wrap up, my friend. You don't need to be a developer to be a PM, but you have to respect the developer's world and understand their language. 1. Be curious. If you don't know the difference between backend and frontend, don't be ashamed. Ask. They love to explain. 2. Build trust. Don't interfere with how they will do it. Focus on what they will do. 3. Strike the balance. Technical debt is not your enemy. A clean kitchen puts out food faster. Sometimes slowing down is speeding up. I am Yunus. Thank you for being with me in this first episode after the break. Next week, we will get into the psychological side of the business, inside the user's brains, user psychology and gamification. How do you make a product a habit for people? The hook model. Take care of yourself and your team. See you. Goodbye.